Good evening, dear accessibility friends, and welcome to my second part of the testing tools for accessibility enhancement. I would say let's get started. Today, I will show you some common automation tools, web apps or browser extensions, and what they can do for you, and how you can also learn from them, and how you can use them for your needs. And then I will talk about some accessibility frameworks and overlays. In the last part, I will talk about accessibility overlays. I will try to be as calm as possible, which most likely will not be the case, and why you should avoid them at all costs. And I also will list some really good resources, so even your boss won't be able to say yes to any overlay ever again. So when it comes to automatic testing tools, like the DevTools or Wave and such, they do catch around 30 to 50% of accessibility errors, it is said. And which is actually obviously not enough to just rely on them. So in the end, manual testing is the way to go, and we will talk about this in another webinar. So what are automatic testing tools? They help you get an overview of the possible errors on the current page, because they are scanning your DOM tree. DOM stands for Document Object Model. So everything that is rendered in the DOM, they can read out and find some errors. They highlight them. They also give you suggestions on how to improve the website or how to fix the error. And some of them are also giving you a code suggestion how to improve the accessibility on this specific part. Browser extensions can usually be found and installed on the official web store of each individual browser, and you can pin them down to the toolbar and always have them handy. And the four main browser extensions I'm going to talk to you about today are DevTools, Google Lighthouse, Accessibility Insights, I think it's another name, Web Insights of Accessibility, something from Microsoft, and the Accessibility Cloud. And it's not that I really chose them, but these are the most common used accessibility browser extensions. I will go into more details on a few of them. The one I know about and I use daily. Others I do not use that much because, you will see when I try to explain them to you, because I can't. I'm overwhelmed, but I try my best. And we will also stick more to Accessibility Cloud, which I think can really help you as a beginner to get into accessibility. And not only this, no matter what role you are in, if you're a developer or a designer or in a management position, I think it also will help you better understand accessibility in the whole process, and can also give you a better understanding and how to maybe articulate during an interview. So it gives you many insights on different aspects. I think you can make a lot of progress learning with it, and be more ready, and not only consider it as something I'm into accessibility or an advocate, but I think you can, after spending some time on it, really learn from it and get really good when it comes to accessibility and the overall process. Yep. As already said, the automatic testing tools, it is said they catch about 30, maybe up to 50% of accessibility errors. I think by Deque, they claim when you buy the paid version of the DevTools that they can find even more. But I think there was something going on during XCon I cannot recall that much, but as I heard, there was something weird going on. They're claiming that you can have a new tool out there and it's so accessible, and then they removed even the talk about it. So, and you can find a nice blog post about it. I will share with you later by Adrian Rosselli, who says, do not believe someone who says they can make something 100% accessible. But we will get to it later on. So the tools, as I said, I'm sharing with you today, talking about is Wave. You will find the link directly on my slides, which I will share with you after the talk, or they are already in the drive. Google Lighthouse extension, it's automatically installed in Chrome, so I'm going to use Chrome today. Accessibility Insights for the web by Microsoft, DevTools by Deque, the Accessibility Cloud, and then a small explanation about the Siteimprove and accessibility checker, because I also found this often by other users that use it. I personally never use it, but maybe this is something for you. So let's get started. I have them already handy in my toolbar, and let's start with a website. I think I shared it already, but let's use it again. The Gartenbau Kino, it's a cinema in Vienna, and it's in German, but there shouldn't be any problem. I want to start with the DevTools. You can see that it is inside my toolbar, but you actually have to go into your source code to activate it. So when you click on the icon, nothing happens, only showing you which version you are using of the DevTools and some information about the company Deque, but you cannot use it in here. So I open my DevTools inside my source code, and then I can find it because I have installed it, the DevTools, and we will use it to automatically check all the accessibility errors it can find on this page. It opens, as I mentioned, it has also a paid version, but I do not have the pro version, and I will also not buy it. I take the full page scan, which is for free. You can click on it, and then it will start testing. DevTools is actually the one I use the most. I think the overall user experience and how they separated all the things, or how they explain all the issues and how they divided the different outcomes is very good. For me, it's the best to understand and to learn from it, especially compared to the others like Lighthouse, which I find a bit confusing, or not that detailed for me to comprehend in a good way. But I think for me, the DevTools are the best out there. So running the tool, it only focuses on the page you're currently on. You can do different settings. For example, here, the best practices. I always have the best practices on because I am not someone who is only working to fulfill the WCAG AA, but I want to make it as accessible as possible. And best practices only also include things, success criteria like AAA and other suggestions to make your website more accessible. That's why I think we should always use the best practices as well. Best practices would be shown in the moderate or minor issues, while the real issues to fulfill the WCAG criteria and to not face any lawsuit is the critical and serious ones. The difference is that, like for the moderate or minor ones, for example, issues are the headings are not well structured, or you did not use any landmarks, like putting your code into different sections like the navigation bar and the main landmark, or the footer landmark, which helps screen reader user better navigate through the website. So because screen reader users still can use the website, they are not blocked to use your website. That's why these issues fall under moderate or minor. And the serious ones, or the critical ones, are really the ones who block a user to use the website. So let's say you have to log in to use the web application, and when the user cannot use a keyboard to fill out the login form, then they can really not use the whole web application, and this would be a critical issue. A serious one would be they can fill out the login form, but maybe the contrast is not high enough, so people with contrast issue have problems seeing everything properly, meaning it's not blocking them, but it's very difficult for them. So this would fall under serious issues, and yes, as I mentioned, moderate and minor does not fall under the minimum criteria of WCAG AA. That's why they're already in the moderate and minor issues divided. You can do it off, then we have less issues, but I would keep it on and also focus on these errors. These are also sometimes errors which fall under easy to fix, which can help a team to have more motivation to fix accessibility issues. To have quick wins is always a good thing in the team. When you're stressed out or you think you do not have any improvements, then do the quick wins, and the team is most likely more happy about and more also focused on then starting with more serious or difficult issues. DevTools then divided into, in this case, into 4 main issues or successfully. It's not a successfully, but the topic of the issue, saying that ARIA hidden elements must not be focusable or contain focusable elements. And it claims that there are 5 issues on this specific page. And when you open it, you can then highlight the issue to see it on the page. In this case, I assume it's the skip to main navigation link, or it's another error Programmübersicht, or even worse, because I cannot find anything. It's hidden, and that's the problem. So we not only, it's hidden for us, it's hidden for the screen reader. So this is something weird, because why do we have it when it's hidden for everyone? But since there is a link inside, you should still be able to focus it, and then there is this issue that you cannot hide something from a screen reader because it's focusable. And clicking on this icon, you can directly go to the code to find the problem inside the code, and it's easier for developers to find it also in their source code and fix it. In this case, you have to figure out why is there a link you want the user to click on, and it's ARIA hidden, and it's hidden in general. Figure out why is the component even created, or what was the intention of the developer or the whole team to implement it this way. Below, it also tells you that the impact again, that it is a serious impact, and that it also falls, for example, under the ENLR, the European norm, failing, and the WCAG criteria. You can go over all the issues it's sharing with you. Again, highlighting it, going over all the issues, and it's still, again, a very weird thing happening here with the same component, most likely. Going to the source code, checking out what's wrong with it. So this would be normally the task of the developer, finding out what the problem here is, because it's very related to the source code. And you can do this with every element, and checking it out, going to the location of the element inside the code or only on the web page. So this would be most likely for managers or UX designers understanding where the problem lies without the need to understand the code directly. And you can always do a rerun if something changes or if you go to another page to make another scan of the new page you have opened. For the Google Lighthouse extension, you have also different settings. We will only focus on the desktop version because we are on desktop, and also I want to only check the accessibility stuff and not the performance or best practices or SEO. I mean, best practices, yes, but let's focus on the accessibility. And you simply click on the generate report and it starts scanning the DOM and generating a report for you. This maybe take a while, but it has the outcome that it tells you that you may have 90% of access, that the web app or the web page actually is 90% accessible. And it also shows you all the issues as the DevTools did. But as I mentioned, for me, it's not that easy to understand. It's not that well structured in my opinion, but of course, everyone is different. So if you prefer more of this list, where you have all the things explained inside it, you can also use it like this. But I think it's not that easy to understand where's the source code and how does it look on the page, or where is it on the page, because we are not on the page anymore. So there's nothing highlighted here currently because we are inside another tab opened, which makes it not that easy to work with it. But I think, well, I guess it's what you prefer. Another one would be the web accessibility insights. This also opens in a new window, I think, and you can do a fast run using the fast pass. It shows you also the issues, how often it fails, and you can have the visual helper, which now tells you or highlights you on the page you were checking where all the issues are lying. And there are many issues, but mostly related to the color contrast. You could also give it away and start only highlighting the specific error it found. Like in this case, the failure of area allowed role. It would highlight it somewhere or not. I was trying to hide from me when I'm showing something. It would. Then let's keep the helper on for everything. What I forgot to mention already for the other two, there are tools, which is available in both the Lighthouse engine as well as the DevTools, is that when you find an issue and you do not know the problem because you are a beginner and you want to learn about the issue, you can get more information by clicking on the link. So in this case, the Web Accessibility Insights, it shows you first of all that this is only a best practice, which would fall under moderate or minor, and which WCAG criteria they are failing. It also shows you the element itself, which would have the ID of menu button, and giving you the snippet from the source code. And there is a small suggestion that a role button is not allowed for the given element, which makes sense because we are on an input field, and why would you put a role with a button on an input field? Because it's an input. I guess they wanted to do the input with the type button, but then they have the checkbox. It's a very weird component. Yeah, it should have an overall recreation. This is really a very weird component, but to understand the rule and how you can or why you should fix it, you click on the more information about ARIA allowed role, and it brings you to the Deque University. And the interesting thing, I think, for all the three tools, the DevTools and the Google Lighthouse extension, as well as the Web Insights, is that every tool is based on the Deque, on the core, on the X core. This is created by Deque, and the X DevTools are also a tool by Deque. And most of the automatic testing tools are having the X core under them when checking your website for accessibility issues. And the good thing about the Deque University is that all the links, when you click on the link, which is highlighted on all these failures, and you come to the, let's say also about the our hidden focus, and you come to the Deque University, all this content is then for free, and you can really learn about how components are set up or how ARIA is working if you do not have any understanding of it. Also, they provide many information like the user impact, that in this case this is minor. What would be a good markup solution, for example, if you have a role menu on an unordered list, and then you put on the list a role of none, because there are different child and parent relations you cannot skip, and then the button gets the role of menu item. So in this case, this would be, I would say, you can think of it as a div just for styling, because the child is now the menu item of the menu, and this is the parent element. That's why a role of none would has to be used to hide it. I'm not sure if I can call it like this, but this would be a good markup solution when you have to work with roles. But it's always better if you do not have to rely on roles and use the, in this case, menu. There is no menu tag, but in this example, it's for me very obvious. Why would you use an unordered list and then put a role button on it? If you want the button, then use the button tag already. There's no need or any explanation that you use a role button on an unordered list or a heading on a button element. But these things are happening. I can tell you, it's sad but true. These things are happening, and we're trying to make it better. That's why we are here and learning. And you can learn, as I said, a lot with Deque University. Also, then on the right side, to show you the disabilities affected. So this would also help you understand about all the different disabilities if you are not familiar with them, because you only focus on the development part and only the code part. It's okay, you don't have to research on different disabilities, but it's good to understand why it even is a problem, or for whom it is a problem, to better understand how to create a more accessible component. So with the Deque University, I think you can learn really a lot from the very beginning, and also in small chunks. I think it's not that overloaded, that you can take your time to get into each issue and work through it without getting overwhelmed. I think looking at their examples to get better over time. Another good thing of the Accessibility Insights Web is that you can do a quick access. This is especially good if you are trying to understand an accessibility audit more. Maybe you want to become an accessibility tester, or maybe you have to test, even though you're a developer or a designer, and you have to test and not even saying, hey, this is false, rewrite the code. but also give explanation on why it is false. And I can explain it even better when we are going to the accessibility cloud. But to give you a little glance of it, it's typical that you have some sort of an assessment for other companies. For example, maybe you're a tester, or your company is a testing company, and another company wants from you that you check their website if it's accessible, and then you do an accessibility audit, and you have to write all the things down to tell them if they are WCAG compliant or not. And accessibility insights for web can help you with this, especially in the beginning. As a learner, I would suggest using it to understand what is wanted from you and why and how to check for certain things. Like in this case, we are totally we have 100% is not really tested. We have the automatic checks, and there are different things the quick SS want us to check, like the keyword navigation, like link purpose, image functions, the heading levels. And we can do so by going through the navigation that's provided. I think it's a nice outline to get started. I think it's always difficult in the beginning, where do I even get started with testing for accessibility? And this tool, I think, provides you with a good outline and a good way. So the automatic checks, we are now, since I tapped it or I clicked it, the overview says that we completed the audit by 9%. I call it audit, maybe it's not an audit, it's the assessment also. I call it audit, sorry. The automatic checks, and it helps you, you can go over it again, but this is what the tool has found. Then it comes to the manual testing or manual checking. They explain to you how to test for keyword navigation, that you start from the beginning, so from the top left to the bottom right, tapping through the whole web page and making sure that you can navigate through the whole web page. If there is a specific widget, that you do not face any keyboard trap, meaning you cannot leave this widget again, but maybe you have to reload or close the whole window, that this is not happening, and that you can resume the navigation through the whole page. And if you checked it, then you can say, yeah, it passed, the page was good, or you say, no, it failed. Let's put failed in here. And then you can also provide information on which specific part was failing. Because maybe you do not do the test for you, but for a developer, so it's good that they know where they find the issue. And then you can add some explanation to it. Then we do the next for the link purpose, and maybe there are different links on the websites, let's say 9 links, and a few of them are passing and a few of them are not passing because you say, the link text is maybe not good enough, understandable, they only use the here or more or something like this, instead of a real description of where the link really brings the user. And you can go over all these different points, and after a while it will tell you that, okay, you tested that 9% are good, and that only maybe 20, the rest 91 are failing. And if you have finished this, you can share the results. You could export the results, which is also sometimes good, because maybe your company is creating a dashboard with all the errors, and when they are fixed, how it improves over some time. That's why you could export it as an HTML or a JSON. You can also then move to the assessment, which is even more detailed and wants way more, has more success criteria in it, or I guess every success criteria out there to do a real audit, and is more in more detail, where you also do the failing, the passing, and then it all will automate the test for you, which you then, as I said, can share. And also what good is if you can save the assessment. So if you do not feel to do everything in one session because it's really intense, then you can save it and load it up again to not lose any of your progress. And the kind of the last one I want to talk about is Wave. In my opinion, I cannot with Wave at all. I think it's so complicated, but I know many people who are using it, and that's why I'm showing it. Maybe it's a tool for you. It has many good things in it. Not for me. It's not for me. But they show the errors, that you have contrast errors, also things which may be an issue and I'm not sure about it, so you would have to check. Also some areas and the structure elements. It provides you with these icons, which I already find very complicated, over the whole page. Let's say in this case, here you can find it in more detail where the error is, highlighting stuff somewhere. I'm not even sure where I am. I think it's really complicated. Okay, now I saw the blinking. There is an issue, at least in this case, contrast issue. You can see the tab order, which seems quite good. Then I cannot see any tab anymore. Maybe it's also not loading. Here it shows the links. And you can also see that the link text is not very accessible or not very descriptive because there's no accessible name on this one, and also sites like it's also not an accessible name. But pointing out all the links already or the buttons, I think it's a good overview for you to see if the link text is descriptive. You can also see the structure. I guess you can check if the headings are skipped or not. In this case, you can see it clearly that you have the featured Pokemon in here, and then it starts with H5. So they skipped the level H4, which is a problem. You should never skip an heading. But yeah, as I said, for me, it's complicated. Try it out. Maybe this is for you. It's definitely not for me. And that's why I will go over to the next process extension, the last one, which would be Siteimprove. I saw Siteimprove. I have to close it first. I read about site improvement quite a lot in the community, even though I did not know about it, I think, a few months ago. And for me, the structure, again, is a bit, I needed more structure, I need more information. But it's still good. You can do quite cool things like the filter. For example, it shows you now all the issues they found on it, also divided in. So first of all, the name, that is a link missing, a text alternative, also which success criteria it's failing. It's an A, a triple A, or a double A, and also some for improvement or best practices, or for the area authoring practices. And the cool thing here is that you can filter it by, let's say, conformance. So maybe you want to focus in the beginning only for all the level A issues, because this is really the basic you have to fulfill to be a little bit of accessible on the website. And you could filter this out to only show these issues. And there are other filters like you're a beginner, so you want to only focus on the beginner issues, and then you could go to the beginner and it should only show you issues which are for beginners. Image missing an alternative text. This is really cool. There is another feature that for responsibility. In this case, they divided into development. So is a developer responsible to fix the issue, or is it the content writer because it's related to text? Is it the UX designer, or is it the visual designer or UI designer? or the element type. Yeah, is it the layout, headings, other links involved? This is a really cool feature, I think. And another cool feature is when you go to the Explorer tab, then you can also test for color blindness. You can apply the filter, and then you will see when you go back that this side is now showing in black and white, grayscale. Also the red-green color blindness, showing it how people with red-green blindness would perceive the website, and the last one would be the blue and yellow blindness. And you can check if everything is still readable for people with different color blindness. This is quite a good, cool feature, and also the selectors, I think. Yes, and a really good tool I want to show you today, because I think that most of the people do not know about, is the Accessibility Cloud. It's the free version is, even though you cannot check many pages with the free version, I think as a beginner or even as an intermediate one, and you want to become an accessibility specialist and find a job as an accessibility specialist, you can learn a lot with the Accessibility Cloud. It provides you with, first of all, with a cool dashboard. It already looks like very advanced. And also, if you're able to explain it, some practicing, you can learn all the things. It's also based on the XCure. And I would say, I suggest everyone, if you have a personal website or a website you know, log in. So yeah, make an account in Accessibility Cloud. Of course, use the free version. The free version provides you with that it will scan only one domain. So in my case, it's my personal website, and it also only tests 5 pages on this domain. But I think you can decide on which page you want to be checked. It says that the last scan was 4 days ago, so I have set it up like scan every week. It shows how many issues you have or what kind of issues you have. So I do have serious issues, and these issues, I'm not proud of it. Yeah, it's my personal website. It's very embarrassing, but we will come to it later. The errors over time, I set this up for this specific webinar, so it only starts on the 9th of February, and the occurrences over time, I'm still not sure why it increased, but okay. The page errors on pages with no errors, 40%. We only have checked 5 pages, and I know that there are more pages on my website. So the errors I found are 11, and there are no new errors over the time I have started setting it up. And the most common errors are elements must meet enhanced color contrast. And enhanced means that I want to fulfill the AAA requirement on WCAG, and not only the AA. You can have the settings. Nope, the targets. And this is where you do your settings. So what do you want to be tested? You can test on WCAG 2.1 or 2.2. Also the Europe. I want to test it all. So this is what you get for free. And I also want to include, of course, the test for AAA, because I do not understand why I should only go for AA. Never, ever. And that's why I have issues. So I do not fulfill the best practices of AAA. And all these guidelines are considered when testing with the Accessibility Cloud. When you have the paid version, then it would also show you if you have documents implemented, like PDFs and such, if they are accessible or not. I would not really rely on everything that it's 100% accurate what any of these automating testing tools are telling you. Always rely on manual testing, but I think it's a good start, a good starting point if you feel overwhelmed in the beginning. Also, if you have redirects, like the links when you go back and stuff, can be difficult for users. I would also point it out here. And then it divides it into your automatic testing. As I said, it shows you that that in this case, the elements must meet enhanced color contrast ratio threshold. And this is a serious issue. And the cool thing here is that you can click on it, and then it shows you the specific elements which are affected on it. And I think it can be complicated, especially if you're not a developer, because I'm not even sure myself which element this is, and I only have a very small website. So if you're working in a big company with a large project, this can be very overwhelming. So start slow and simple. But let's go to the background green 800. It already shows me that I used some sort of framework or something, and I know it's Tailwind, but this is a typical format of using CSS in a project. And it also provides you with the same information all the other tools already did. It also has the core on the X core. And with the same information, the impact of it, you see. Oh, and then you can also go over the impact if you do not know how these issues are divided, like the criticals, as I mentioned. These are real blockers, and then it's very hard for them. It's okay, and it's, yeah, okay, they maybe are not in a good mood using a website, but they can use your website. They also give you some suggestions on how to fix the issue. They provide the HTML which is affected on it, also the disabilities affected, and which role is involved. We saw it on the Siteimprove tool already, but also the Accessibility Cloud has these roles. You can divide all the issues. In this case, I have only the color contrast issues, and this is most likely obvious when you are working in a big team, that it's the problem of the UI designer who decided on the color, or the company itself decided on the color, and the UI designer had to implement it. But this is a good understanding for where to start with the accessibility issue, because there's always this problem or discussion who is responsible for accessibility. And I think this gives you a good understanding that in this case, at least the UI designer is, or the phase of the designing phase is where the responsible lies for this color contrast issue. It's maybe not the designer themselves, because they have to do what the product owner wants, but there you should start on fixing the issue first, and then the developer and then the tester will also work and solve the problem. You can also, here they also mentioned the Deque University rules. The rules, and you can, which also shows you the outcome the others do. So Deque University is really, I think, the base of any of these automatic testing tools. So go to the university and familiarize yourself with all the information they have for free. You can also check out which page is affected. In this case, it's the homepage. I know it's, the 3-minute read time is not fulfilling the WCAG AAA, which means that you have, for text color to background color, has to be at least 7:1. And also these chips, or what is called, do also not fulfill 7:1. It also shows you things that can be improved. So the WCAG filling errors, which could give you get you problems with the law, but the improvements is you should do it. And I know I do not have a level 1 heading. I was shocked myself because I thought I have, but this is an issue. And potential error. So the tool is not sure if this is really an issue, and you have to check manually. And another cool thing is that in the Accessibility Cloud, you can add your own findings. So it's not only, and which will update also your dashboard. So it's not only the automatic testing errors it's finding, but you can also add additional findings. I know already from from testing that something is not working correctly on my website related to Firefox, that the focus outline does not color contrast. I'm really bad in doing audits and explaining all this stuff and writing, because for me as a developer, I could only fix it. I do not provide it for other people, but sometimes you have to, and then it should be a really descriptive title, so for the other user to understand. It violates, this is also cool because it helps you learn about the success criteria and the WCAG. And as I mentioned, I'm really bad at it, but I looked it up. In this case, as I said, the visibility of the focus is bad, so it failing focus visible, I am saying now. And you can add the page. In this case, I know it's the home page because it fails it fails the language switch, and it affects, I guess, the limited vision, maybe other visions as well, which also is good that you now would have to, because maybe your company forces you to understand which disabilities are really affected. So if you are becoming an accessibility tester, you have to know all this stuff. You have to know it. You have to know which disability is affected. You have to know the impact on it. So visual is at least a serious one. It's not blocking them, but it's difficult for them. The estimated effort is very low because I only have to adjust the color of it. And it could be normally it would be an UI designer issue, because maybe the color is not chosen right. But since I know that in Safari and in Chrome it works perfectly as I wanted it to work, I know that it's a developer failure, because I as a developer have now to I have to find out why does Mozilla Firefox show the color differently than Chrome. Maybe it's related to how my CSS was implemented, or maybe there's a tailwind issue that it's not parsed very well. So I would say that the designer cannot change anything, because they decided for the designer, in this case is also me, but the designer chose a good color, but the development part was bad. Then you would have to fill out different descriptions of what's wrong with the component. So in Firefox, outline is not showing correctly or has not enough contrast. Solution suggestions, improve it, or if you already know a good color, then put in the hex code for the color which the developer has to use. Why it matters, you could write it matters because people with low vision have difficulties find the focus or on which focusable element they are currently on. Steps to reproduce, you would mention something like tap in the navigation bar, tap to the last element, which is the language switcher, and then you will see that the color contrast is very low. Expected behavior, that the color contrast is high enough for people with low vision to see the difference, and then you can save it, and then you have it in here, and it shows you the same elements which also were in the errors, which is a good place to store all these issues, especially when you're working on a big project and with a big team. You can also export all these things as an Excel file, and it's then divided into all the pages who are affected on which criteria it's failing, which all the targets, the compliance targets implemented, the ID or the element or the class of the element. You better find it. Maybe because you want to do something with all the content, create some graphs or something for the product owner, how you improved or any of these things. Another cool thing for you to learn, which can help you, or which will help you to be a better accessibility specialist, or to talk about in interviews, because I think already you can talk so much more when you understand all these steps doing an interview for an accessibility specialist position. No matter if it's a developer or a tester or a designer, I think you should understand the whole process here anyways. You can do another great thing, which is the accessibility statement. And if you do not know what an accessibility statement is, this could help you learn about the statement. You can generate one, and it will already point out a few things you have to understand, which are important. Like in an accessibility statement, you show that you are aiming for accessibility, for inclusion on your website, for making your website as accessible as possible. And with this, you provide information to the, first of all, you have checked your website on accessibility, and you are also open for critique and errors. So be honest if there are things on it which did not work as expected. So sometimes you have maybe you created this website and you have implemented a form, and this was very complicated, and you're maybe not that good to change the form immediately. So you have to do some research, and it takes a while. And while you are taking the time to figure out how you can improve the form, it's good that you mention in your accessibility statement that, like, all the components or the whole website, the personal website is accessible, but the form is not accessible. And let's say it's a contact form. And then you point out, my contact form is not accessible because you cannot use it with a keyboard. It's not keyboard accessible. And you are currently working on it. And in this specific case, you also have to provide some, another, oh man, how can they now contact you? Yeah, when the contact form is not working, it's not good, but you have to find another solution. You have to provide another solution for people who are relying on keyboard, who can only use the form with their keyboard, and now you have to give them another way to contact you. And then you could write inside the text, another way to contact me is writing an email down on this email address, and you can copy and paste it, because this is only a website. I can show you on my website. Yips. I have it, and it's almost everywhere in my footer. This link accessibility statement, where I point out what is good on my website, maybe also pointing out where I even reached AAA, because you feel happy that you achieved this, but also be honest when you are failing things, and how they give them the possibility to give you feedback. So if they want to report a bug, where they can find me in case I'm not responding or anything. Also, information, what compatibility you have for what you have tested. So did you do all of them, over and Chrome and then VDA? So I did not test for JAWS because I do not have JAWS. And that's also why I do not point it out that it's accessible to every screen reader, but I pointed out it's accessible to these are what I have tested, and I feel good about saying it's accessible for these tools. You should also, which I did not have currently, you should also then provide the evaluation report. This report would be, for example, what I have shown you with the Web Insight, the assessment, which you can then download as an HTML or JSON, and then you can implement it as a website. So people could click on it and see all the errors or all the things you pass or fail. You should be very open when you create an accessibility statement, and to know about an accessibility statement, I think it's also very important. Also for applying for a job, that you have the understanding of what users are also relying on what's happening on a website, to get all the information, that how can you use it and how do you stand to accessibility and things like this. Yes, this would be it for the accessibility cloud. A very good blog post I want to share with you is, and I'll have it mentioned in my slides so you can read it later on, is, even though it's from 2019, it's still valid, that it shows that even if you do one of these tests with the DevTools, Lighthouse, Wave, or whatever, and they tell you that it's 100% accessible, you can create a 100% accessible website checked by automatic testing tools and still fail very big. And Manuel Matuzovic, he's from Austria, he explained it in very funny way as always, and in very detail how you can fail really bad, and the reason why you should never trust automatic testing tools, because just because it says 100% accessible, it's not. It's simply not. He explained all the code details. You can then, and when it's still 100% accessible, and also provides you with why it's actually not accessible. For screen reader users, for example, let's say, oh, we found this before on the site I showed you with the hidden and ARIA hidden and all these complicated things. He also provides you with the code snippets, and yeah, I suggest read it, and you will learn a lot from it to make sure to understand why you can never trust them. Where is my presentation? Here it is. Yes, these were these tools. Let's go over to the frameworks and overlays. For the frameworks, I want to only give you a quick overview or information. The three I worked most with, or had to work most with. I'm not a big fan of frameworks. It's the React Bootstrap, Material UI, and lately Razen Blazor, the best one. And I spelled it wrong. What I want to tell you about these is that I think, as I heard from the accessibility community, that, for example, Material UI in general is a very accessible component library. Maybe about 80% it's accessible by default, but this also means that people or developers do understand how to use it. So it does not do any good if you find, let's say, it doesn't even matter. You have this field. Okay, I'm already lost. You have this field and you do not like this. So you only want to have the field. And I saw people then deleting the label from it. Then it's not accessible anymore. So there is a reason to implement it this way. When you want to trust a resource, and you should always check if it's still accessible, then you cannot simply delete what you want, even though they give you the possibility, because you can implement it most likely how you want, and you rewrite it and put some code on it and give away code. This is not helpful. So this destroys what they're trying to create here. And I think they are in the direction of an accessibility component library, but this only works if the developer does understand accessibility and therefore does not touch anything they do not understand. So someone telling you I used a MUI, that's why it's accessible. It's not accessible because you're using MUI. It's accessible because you still understand and do not rewrite or override any of these default settings. And maybe there are a few elements I'm sure of, because let's say when you have the error field and you have a you use only the error input field and you create your own form element and you want to submit it, and there is an error in the first input field, then I am very sure they did not implement it already, because they do not know how you want to use these input elements. You have to put focus on the first element where the error appears, for example. So you can mix up all these components as you want, and this is also a problem. This is also why I component library can never be accessible in this sense, because you implement it as you wish. And if you implement a heading component and you put it at H3, even though it should be an H2 because you should not skip headings, they cannot do anything about it. So it still relies on you that you use it in a proper way. The same goes for the Bootstrap, React Bootstrap. I want to show the navbar because I was very depressed when I had to use it. Maybe I will not find it again, of course, because I never do. Here we have a link and it has the roll button on it. This is so basic. And I know I discussed it with them, and they said, yeah, if you don't want to use this is just a basic, how they do not understand the problem, because you can still use it. You can still use it as a button and you can click on it, but there are default behaviors when you use a button. When you use a button, you can, the keyboard user can activate the button by enter and space, and this is not possible with using the A. And then you have to implement it if you want to make it keyboard accessible as the user expected, because it's a button, even though this is a link. Then you have to provide the code for it and write it in JavaScript that this is accessible with both the keyboard, the tab key and, did I say tab key? The enter key and the space key. So they already have problems in here in the code I could show you. So you cannot never trust that this is accessible when there is something basic like putting a roll button on an A tag. But my most favorite is this one, the Razen Blazor. I didn't tell about it when it was in any of the projects I heard about a few months ago, and they are working with this really cool accessible framework. I really hope you can see me. I think it's getting darker in here. And I thought, oh wow, I'd never heard of this 100% accessible framework. I'm very curious about it. And I took a look at it, and Detail told me, yeah, maybe I could help, or but they rely on this, and they think that maybe my expertise as an accessibility specialist is not that much of a use because of this very great accessible component library. And I said, oh, okay. I mean, okay. And of course, they have trusted thousands of developers and IT leaders and all this good thing. And in the first section about how to get started with the component library, there's this super cool accessibility section we will get to. I think it's very on the top. It means that they are really considering accessibility, being serious about it, and provide you with many information about accessibility and how important it is and to do. And it's a WCAG, and the components library prioritizes accessibility for all the users, for accessibility guidelines, documentation, and I cannot even speak anymore. So they're very different standards, but they provide inclusive user experience out of the box. Sure. And then I thought the first thing I would check is color, because color, if someone says they are accessible and they have simple color contrast issue, not even fulfilling 4.5 to 1. No, just no. And I go to the color section, and please sit down for this because you will not expect this. I was shocked as well. I mean, come on. And this is not the worst. You understand something from color or from accessibility and giving us this, a white text on a light gray background, and it's getting better. I mean, come on. What the fuck? What is this? Whatever. Never trust any library or anyone saying, I have it 100% accessible. Or I do understand accessibility, because as you can see, you don't. You want to sell me an accessibility library. How? How does someone even pay for this using it. Okay. This was this. Yeah, let's go over the overlays. It's not getting better. I just want to make sure that please don't trust. Please check on your own obvious things in the beginning. You do not even have to be a developer or anything. You just have to look at it. And I hope you understand that this can never be accessible. And yeah, I'm stopping here now. No. As I said, okay. So the last part is the accessibility overlays. And I mean, I do not use them. I also cannot explain them in very detail. It's something JavaScript related. This is you implement it with JavaScript and you click on the button, and I will show this, of course, and then it runs a script making it 100% accessible to everyone. I can tell you, and these are only the first 3 articles I want to show you, which could be your first choice to read. Of course, in the end, I have many more resources on the accessibility overlay. You should really check out and watch the videos and read the articles, mostly from Carl Gross. He's in accessibility for decades, and yeah, very, very good. The fact sheets should even use the overlay discussions, but only going with these 3. First of all, there is this European Disability Forum and working with IAAP, who had a discussion, I think, was it last year or something, where they gave their statement on accessibility overlays and a description what the information is about, and telling you that they can cause significant problems. So for assistive technology, overriding stuff that users were very frustrated with the accessibility overlays, they could not use because of it. This is something really worth reading. And of course, my all-time favorite, John Rosselli. Check out all his blog articles, especially as a developer, because this is the resource to go. And I love him for this. So he's also in accessibility for decades. And he got sued by, I think, all of them. So Audit will get you sued. Facility will get you sued. Userway will get you sued. Accessibility will get you sued. And then also a good thing, AudioEye has dropped its suit against me. So he was sued by many of these companies because he did not attack them directly, but he wrote an article about it, that he tested the product and it's not accessible. Even though they claimed on their website they are 100% accessible. And this is what he wanted to fight against, because companies do not understand. They think here, oh, it's 100% accessible, it's cheap, you only have to put in this button on your website and everything is fixed, and people laughed at. I don't know why, but people laughed at. I love working, I love developing. I would be more happy if you pay me for all the stuff doing it instead of paying this company using this stupid button. But people trust it, and also these companies are advertising that you will not face any lawsuit when the new Accessibility Act is coming, because with the accessibility overlay. And of course, every company wants this. And he just pointed out that he found these issues. He tested it also with blind users, and these are the problems. And so this is why it's the many headings say it will get you sued, because there are issues when using it on your website. And companies, of course, didn't like that. He tested all the tools in that detail and pointed out the problems of it. But all of these lawsuits were dropped, and which already shows that he's right. So overlays do not fix anything. They even make it worse in most of the cases. Accessibility overlays are a shitty thing to implement. And yeah, I mean, tell it your boss. Yeah, they will get you sued. He also is a promoter for be wary of accessibility guarantees from anyone. So like anyone, Never, when someone says even the word 100%, no, absolutely no, there's nothing 100%. Trust him, and also gain so much knowledge that you can trust your judgment yourself with these overlay things and the framework things and everything. And now I want to show you a few examples of an accessibility overlay in case you not know what it is. This is an Austria website, and here you can find a button with the accessibility icon. And the overlay is that you click on this icon and you can choose some settings for you or for your preferences to make the website, as it seems, more accessible. What I already love is the readable font, because I'm not sure why it's now more readable. I think it's still, what I understood as a readable font would be the font that the L is different from the uppercase I or the letter 1, which is not the case. I'm still not sure what it even does. But this would be one of the settings you could add to make it, as it seems, more accessible. You can also click on the navigation. This was, I think, not the thing I wanted. No, it's gone. Okay, and it has also loading issues. I'm not sure why it's jumping back and forth, which already means it's bad implemented, or it's by default a shitty overlay. You can highlight links, and this is also funny because I think you see it by yourself that this is not the color contrast is so bad. How can someone claim they make your site accessible if the color contrast of the outline of the link is not even accessible? And was it in here or was it another one? Yeah, where should I go with this? Very, very bad implemented. The overlay is very bad in general. It does not help at all. Another one is something related to, it's also from Austria, something related to what do I want to say? It has something to do with the Austrian sign language company who does courses on it, and it also has the accessibility overlay here, a different one. Yeah, it's a bit smaller, still bad thing. Also not sure why it's already the implementation of the overlay itself. It is a link, even though it opens something. So I assume it should be a button. Then it has a title. It has a title, even though there is already a title in it, which is only for screen readers, which would then override. You do not need a title when you have text inside. And then there's another text for the SVG. So there are 3 texts for only one element. This is something which already tells you they do not understand accessibility at all. Yeah. So this is also very great. Accessibility overlay on another website about sign language, and it follows how your mouse is going. I really hate it already. How can it even be accessible when it moves around? Another issue by itself. Another one would be the Special Olympics using an accessibility overlay. In this case, it says the word accessibility without having the icon itself, and it's by user way. Another website, Siteimprove, also related to Austrian to sign language, having the accessibility overlay. Another one, Kinderhände, so like child hands, also about Austrian sign language, having the accessibility overlay, which already has a bad color contrast, just saying, on the left side. And then the Paralympics also have the accessibility overlay by user way. And the last one I want to show you is the global disability summit, which is happening next week. Also an overlay. And if you haven't realized already, what have all these things in common? All these sites are related to inclusion and disability inclusion, and all of these sites are using disability overlay, which is far away of accessible and inclusive. I think this is very sad. Of course, these are only the examples I found also. I found them very quickly, and this is also very sad. Yeah, do with the information what you want to do with it. Read all the stuff I have. These are really great articles and great videos. You really have to check them out. I don't know, Zeli is, yeah, he's goat. He really is a badass in accessibility. We can rely on his content and blog posts. So yeah, this would be it for today's session. Thank you for joining and listening to me while whining, and also hopefully telling you some stuff you can use. And I hope you still see me, but I guess not. The next session will be in April, together with Laura Visiak. We will talking about level up your accessibility game with accessibility audits, WCAG, and the Pokédex of accessibility. You can find all the sessions infos and the recording and the material on the GDG community site or on my personal website, Accessibility First. And if you do not want to miss any future events, not only mine, but also other events happening in Austria or online, follow the Accessibility newsletter. And a few other resources. The resources I mentioned today by Manuel Matuzovic, everything related to overlays. I don't want for overlays. And then these are my basic resources I share in every webinar, because these are really the things you should know and consume every day to get to the best version of yourself related to accessibility understanding.